up, everybody? This is Connor. Welcome to or back to Three Pedal Devils. Today we got a special guest. This is my brother Ryan. So what are we working on today, Ryan?
We're going to replace a wheel hub on this clapped out 200,000 mile Pontiac. It's got an ABS tone wheel fault on the rear left side, so we're going to replace that wheel hub and see if that'll fix the problem. Tight lug nut.
And tight lug nuts. F***ing mint. Wrong size seat. F***ing mint. Running a little code scan here. Let's take a look at this awesome we found. So these two clearly aren't the same lug nut.
This one was hand tight.
Different seat. And I saw this awesomeness. Straight seat with a washer.
This is why we do our own work on our cars.
Yeah. Junk. F***ing mint.
Three hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Alrighty, so we got the drum off. Basically just had to give it a couple whacks to get it loosened up on this center ring on the hub. So right now he's taking the back 4 bolts off of the hub. Can't really get in there. It's essentially taking off the bolts that are on these 4 so you can pull the hub out. 1/2-inch socket.
After we got the drum cover off, the next thing we did is pull these 4 bolts out of the back, which are holding the hub into here. So these bolts are back here. They're 1/2-inch drive. You're going to use various different ratchets and extensions to get to them because your shock here is going to be in the way in certain times. So we used 1/2-inch drive as well as 3/8 with various extensions in order to access all of them. And once you pull those out, your whole hub and your brake assembly is all loose here. So you're going to want to pull the wheel speed sensor out of the clip carefully to not break the part that is remaining, because you're going to replace this part but not that part, so don't break it. Now once that's out, back here you have a rubber grommet here that is keeping I'm going to go ahead and push that grommet through. You're going to have to fight with it a little bit. Not going to want to go through very easy. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull the wheel hub out, and just keep in mind that your brake assembly is loose. So it's just going to kind of hang there from your brake cables. And I'm using, if you can see here,
Give me the light.
I'm using just kind of pulling on the wheel speed sensor here as I'm pushing from the back, and you can see I'm pushing it through and then it comes free, and then your sensor should be able to fit through that hole then, just like that, and there comes free the old jacked up wheel hub. Set that aside, and then we are going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit and then start getting the new wheel hub installed.
How's it going, Mr. Stark?
Iron Man.
Oh, sorry, Iron Man. Wow, brother, you got a Harley? You're gonna be ripping on this bad boy. Try to keep all 3 wheels on the ground, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pop up any power wheelies on us. Alrighty, so we've been trying to figure out the torque specs for these 3/8 24 bolts that go in the back of the hub here. It's pretty impossible to find the service manual for this car. We tried looking for the Equinox also and just couldn't find the right one that was available for download to get the torque specs for these. But a couple of people said on the forums there were pretty differing answers between like 52 foot-pounds, 58 foot-pounds. There was one for 62 foot-pounds. Problem is there's also an all-wheel drive version of this car, so some of those were probably from that. But we also looked up the standard torque specs for grade 8 bolts, and it lists it at 49 foot-pounds. It's pretty close to what we heard about in the 50s, so we're just going to send them to 55 and they should be fine. But if anyone has the actual Helms like service manual, feel free to drop that in the comments, download link for that, or what the actual torque spec is if anyone has access to all data for this vehicle. But we're going to send it at 55.
All right, so we're going to feed this new wheel speed sensor pigtail through the hole. And then we're going to shove that boot in there, pull it out the other side until it clicks in so that it's sitting properly in there. Line this up with the holes. And once the holes are lined up, we should be able to send a bolt or two through the back to hold it in place while we finish adjusting it.
Alrighty, so we got the new hub in, and we have 3 of the bolts currently torqued, and all 4 in. One of them's just snug with a 1/4" drive because we couldn't fit the torque wrench in there, but I'm going to try and throw a swivel socket on there and see if we can torque up the last one, and then we should be good. So this one this is the bottom one closest to the strut. We're actually able to get on this one without an extension or a swivel socket at all. It's just a shallow socket. Should be able to get the other 3 just with a 3-inch extension, and then this one you can get with no extension at all. And we actually didn't have this one torqued because miscommunication, so that's why it's good to always double check, especially if you're working on a project with more than one person. Alright, so what you want to do is pull that grommet off the back side of the brake cover, put a brake tool through there, and then this little ratchet wheel, you want to turn that with the brake tool to either loosen or tighten it depending on what you have to do. Right now we need to make the diameter of the brake shoes. What we found when trying to put the drum back on was that the shoes were way too tight, the shoes over here, so we couldn't press it on. We tried beating it and then realized that we were going full, and that we needed to just tighten the shoes in so that they wouldn't rub. So there's this little pinion wheel in there where he's pointing with the screwdriver. It's got some little ratchet teeth on there. What you do is pry back on this little lever and then use the brake tool to tighten it up, bring them in a little bit. Should be good there.
Yep, so make sure these are centered and that you're all lined up on here.
Yeah, now we should be able to just slide it right on. Could have done this when we took it off. We could have loosened them up a little bit, and then we could have pulled it right off without prying on it.
And then you'll just have to remember to tighten it back up. Okay, so the next thing we did was, once we got the cover back on, we tightened up from behind the brake again by spinning that wheel the other way, all the way until the point where the hub locked up until it felt like the e-brake was on. And then we backed it off until we had some free spinning here, and then go and actually apply the e-brake. And once the e-brake is applied, if it locks the wheel up, it should be pretty good then. And then we made sure to put the rubber boot back in there to cover up that hole for adjusting the brake, and make sure that the wheel speed sensor is connected and that you're not going to hang up on the brake lines or anything like that in here, that it's got some freedom there. So now throw the wheel back on, put the lug nuts on.
A little side note, if your tires look like this, probably time to replace them. Alright, we did a scan and cleared the ABS DTCs. Now we're gonna go drive it, see if it comes back on.
Are you gonna want to remake that because she was talking about Christmas lights?
Christmas lights! Yay! Oh wow, sounds really good.
Yeah, that's the steering column.
Steering column?
Uh-huh.
Is there any bridges we can drive this off of?
Told you it was clapped out.
Do a little ghost riding?